Bonjour mes amis, this is Alex from Move to France and Teach English.com, where I share how you too can move to France and teach English. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 major differences in French culture that makes it unique to any other place in the world. But before we do that, if you haven't already yet, check out my website Move to France and Teach English.com, where I offer a bunch of free content up on the blog. I also offer a free 10-step checklist on moving to France. And if you're interested and you want to know more about moving to France and teaching English on a more personal level, you can sign up for a free 10-minute discovery call with me so I can offer you some specific suggestions on what jobs are out there for you to teach English here in France. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into it. On y va! Okay, item number 1 that's unique to French culture is that the French love and respect food. Now, many other countries respect and love food in their own different ways, but I feel like France is a bit unique in that regard because you already know French cuisine, Michelin star restaurants. The French food is tabled and plated in a very unique, special way that gives it a lot of respect. Things are paired in certain ways, but it goes across the board in different levels, and it also goes into the ingredients. France focuses on the quality of the ingredients in their food. You can see this in farmers markets that are across the nation in France. Farmers markets happen once or twice a week on different days of the week in different towns or cities. It's not just major cities. They have lots of small towns that will have their Saturday farmers market, Sunday farmers market, sometimes even Tuesday farmers market. Also in France, you'll have boulangeries that sell fresh bread that's just really well done. Everyday, fresh, delicious bread, and there are a lot of boulangeries across France. You also have boucheries, which are your butcher's shops where they have fresh meat cuts, if you like meat. You have cheese shops that sell uniquely cheeses, a huge variety of different cheeses. You have so many different cheeses, sheep, goat, cow cheese, all these different kinds of cheeses from across France made in different ways that are famous in different consistency and style. So that's very unique. You have, of course, French wine, all these different kinds of French wine depending upon the region and geography, and all these kinds of ingredients are very unique from the places in France, and that will also create certain dishes that are very unique. So French cuisine is really cool in that you can have French food that is really intricate, and they deconstruct certain things so that a pumpkin soup looks nothing like the original pumpkin that you would get. Or they can simply plate, grilled asparagus with a bit of olive oil and Parmesan cheese or something like that, and just very basic ingredients become just delicious because of the quality of the ingredients. So that's element number 1 for why the French culture is unique, is their appreciation and respect for food. Element number 2 as to how the French culture is unique is that the French people love to argue and they love to complain. Now, this is a little bit different from Americans, and it varies across cultures around the world. But in France, I've noticed that if you work in an office at lunchtime, basically the cultural thing to do is you meet with your colleagues and you complain about little things. Not major things necessarily. Maybe you don't get too personal with your personal life, but you do complain about the weather or the transportation or the recent strikes that are slowing things down, or the government that is doing something new that makes the people want to strike in the first place. You might also talk a lot about culture or philosophy, about different countries, about what's happening around the world. The French love to talk about things. Some things they don't like to talk about, though, is their work. Obviously, if you're at work, you'll be talking about work, complaining about work to your colleagues. But when you're out and about, you don't really talk about what you do for work. You talk more about the government or what's happening in the news or the weather, things like that. So the French people love to argue, they love to discuss, they love to talk about philosophy and politics, and discourse is really a big part of the French lifestyle. French people love to sit around a table, take 2 or 3 hours eating a meal, having many different dishes if it's a special occasion, or just a 3-course meal if they're just having lunch or something like that. And they love to talk about philosophy. So that's part of the culture, eating food, good food, and talking about the meaning of life and things. So that's number 2. Element number three about how French culture is unique from anywhere else is that French people, um, they feel very democratic. They love democracies and the people having power. You know, they have their motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, which is liberty, equality, and fraternity or brotherhood. But the interesting thing about this is that they love freedom and democracy, yet they love to also protest the government when they feel like government is overreaching. They strike all the time. Most recently, there is a major strike from the people. Almost 1 million people were striking in France alone, causing major delays in trains and all kinds of work and things that were shutting down. Um, and so the French love to strike, and the unions have a lot of power. This is very unique from other countries. Even places like Germany or Austria, you don't have this many protests. In France, it's very common to have a train planned to take you 3 months in advance, and then the day before it's announced that there's a general strike and your train's canceled and you have to figure it out. And French people are kind of just used to this. It's a huge pain in the neck when you're trying to plan travel and stuff, but it's kind of just this how things are, and it's not uncommon to see major strikes, which often happen like on weekends, honestly, because that way it doesn't inconvenience people too much, but it does vary. All right, so that's reason number three for element number three for how French culture is unique and different from other countries is that they feel strongly democratic, strongly wanting to support other countries in need, like Ukraine, for instance, but at the same time push against their own government and feel very those revolutionary forces that founded the country. Okay, element number four as to how French culture is very different from any other country in the world is that the French like to take it very slow. And now I say this in general. There are variations within France. So interestingly enough, I think most countries will note this, that how much energy a people feel is based on the weather, the climate, and the geography. So within France, you have people in Paris that are moving very quickly relatively. It's kind of similar to New York. And then further north, people in Normandy and Brittany, places like this where it's a bit cold, a bit more cold, a bit more damp. People will tend to be more active in doing things and moving a bit faster, right? Then you have people in the south, near Italy, near Spain, along the Mediterranean coast, the French Riviera, and here people are more likely to slow down, take things slow. So that's extra slow, so things happen even more slowly, especially with restaurants, you really feel that, and with administration, things like that. You learn that, everything just, you take it easy, you take it slow, especially in the south of France. But this ties back a bit to what I was talking about with the French love for talking about philosophy and culture and the meaning of life. Why rush a meal when you're enjoying the food and when you're talking about life? So because of that, restaurants or waiters, for example, they may take their time in bringing you your food. Or once they bring you your food, which is at a pretty fast pace, I think in general, they may take their time in seeing if you need anything else or see if you finished. And they definitely never rush you to finish and leave your table, which is a great difference from the United States, for example, when they might need that table to turn it around, right? In France, you can stay as long as you want. You can smoke your cigarettes or have your cake or have your coffee and just nurse that for a good 30 minutes to an hour. So one big difference in culture in France compared to other places around the world is that in general, they take things a lot slower. Also, they take like 1 to 2 hours lunch breaks. On Sundays, everything closes. So there's really no need to rush anywhere when everything is closed and there's nothing you can do anyways, except maybe go to the movie theater. So you might see people going to the park or going to a church or having picnics with their grocery store food that they bought. Maybe they go to the farmer's market and have a picnic out in the grass on that Sunday because there's nothing else to do. And the French, as a result, just take it slow. Okay, and the fifth and final thing about what makes French culture unique and different from anything else is, I would say, their collective desire to support each other. You could also call this the social welfare, the social safety net. That's very strong. So every citizen in France has social security that includes healthcare, which is different from other countries like the US. So if you're a French citizen, you have like a little, looks like a credit card called the Carte Vitale, and this allows you to very easily pay for doctor's visits or anytime you go to any medical specialist. And the prices are extremely low compared to prices in the US, for example, where healthcare is super expensive. And so this healthcare is paid for by high taxes in France, but they're really not that bad because you never have this crisis of can I go to the hospital or not. You can just go. And there is a very good system of unemployment. I've even interviewed some French people who say that the support system is too strong because you'll have people who want to take advantage of the social system and just quit their job because they don't like it anymore, and then they max out their 1 to 2 years of unemployment benefits where the government's paying them a decent salary as they're supposed to be looking for a job, and then once they finish that, then they actually start looking for a job in earnest, and they've had that time as a break. But honestly, it's better to have a system like that, and maybe occasionally some bad apples take advantage of that, rather than have no safety net at all and have people really struggle on the day-to-day. So they don't need to worry about healthcare. They don't really need to worry about jobs. It's very hard to fire people in France, so the safety feeling of job security is very strong in France, which is really great, and they really support each other. One thing I've noticed is that they have some things that they take for granted that they might protest about, that in the US or in other countries you might think, wow, it's already so good as it is, why are you complaining? Like most recently, France is striking about changing the retirement age. The government wants to change the retirement age from 62 to 64 or 65. And when you look at places like Germany or Denmark or Greece, where the retirement age is like 65 or 67, they're already doing very well. So it's like, what are you protesting about? But I think it's more of an issue of identity that they have these benefits that they want to keep. And so, it's a whole, I'm not going to get into that debate. But just to give you as an example how things are really good in France, and these social safety nets are kind of a given here, which makes France really unique from anywhere else. All right, and those were the 5 top reasons why French culture is unique and different from any other country in the world. You may have noticed at the beginning of this video, I used the expression "on y va." Now, in case you didn't already Google it, "on y va" means let's go, and that's your expression for today. So "on y va" means let's go. And you can say it when you're excited to go somewhere or do something. You say "on y va," "on y va." All right, so that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this video or have any comments about what you think makes French culture different or unique from other countries that I didn't mention, make sure to mention it in the comments below. Make sure if you like this content, you can also subscribe, or if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Again, my name is Alex, and I'm with the website movetofranceandteachenglish.com. And again, if you haven't already, you should check out the blog where I talk about this type of content on the blog. You can download my free 10-step guide to move to France and teach English. And if you're interested, you can book a free 10-minute discovery call with me personally one-on-one, where we can talk about job opportunities for you to teach English in France and move to France. Merci. Au revoir.